Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held at NYC City Planning Commission Hearing Room, Lower Concourse, 120 Broadway. Today is Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chair Lago.
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles. Commissioner Burney.
Here.
Commissioner Capelli.
Here.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner De La Use.
Here.
Commissioner Dueck. Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz. Commissioner Ramprashad.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the special meeting of Monday, June 3rd, 2019.
On the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Scheduling. On calendar numbers 1 through 13, we have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, July 10th, 2019 for a public hearing to be held at CUNY John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Gerald W. Lynch Theater, 524 West 29th Street, New York, New York.
On the resolutions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolutions are adopted.
The next part of the calendar is the reports section on page 15. Reports. Borough of Brooklyn, numbers 14 and 15. 273 Avenue U rezoning, CD 11, number 14. C 180164 ZMK, number 15, N 180165 ZRK, and the matters of an applications for zoning map and zoning tax amendments concerning 273 Avenue U rezoning. For favorable reports on calendars numbers 14 and 15. Chair Lago.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Use.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendars number 14 and 15. Borough of Staten Island, number 16, 428 Loretto Street, CD3, N 190363 RCR, and the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 428 Loretto Street for adoption on calendar number 16. Chair Lago.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Use.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad. Calendar number 16 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, number 17, Stanley Avenue, CD1, N 190367 ZCR, and the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning Stanley Avenue for adoption on calendar number 17. Chair Lago.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Use.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Calendar number 17 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, number 18, 68 Butterworth Avenue, CD2, N 140088 ZCR, and the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 68 Butterworth Avenue for adoption on calendar number 18. Chair Lago.
I'll just note that this applicant, this is for a certificate of restoration of unauthorized work, and that the applicant had applied for a certificate of restoration for unauthorized work in 1997, and would just express my firm hope that we do not see yet another request for a certificate of restoration. But with that, I vote yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Use.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Calendar number 18 has been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 20. Borough of Brooklyn, Numbers 19 and 20, CD 5, number 19, C 190286 HAK, number 20, C 190286A HAK, public hearing in the matter of an application for a UDAP designation, project approval, and disposition of city-owned property concerning East New York North Cluster.
This is going to be a 10-minute team presentation comprised of Erin Buchanan, Deborah Wedorkel, Sheila Bench, and then available for questions are Kenneth Church and Lynn Zeng.
Good morning. My name is Erin Buchanan. I'm from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. With me today are members of the development team working on the East New York North project, including Debbie Whitaker from M. Lappin and Associates, Sheila Bennett from EBC, and Ken Church, who's the architect on the project. The proposed project will result in the development of 3 new 3-story affordable housing buildings with approximately 41 affordable housing units plus 1 unit for a superintendent. The ULURP application for this project was certified on February 25th, and HPD is the applicant on the application. HPD issued a request for proposals that was designed to facilitate the development of small city-owned lots, and the team of EBC, M. Lappin, and the Markel Group were selected in April 2017 to be the team responsible for the development of this project. This ULURP application is seeking approvals for Urban Development Action Area project approval and project approval and the disposition of city-owned property. And HPD submitted an amended application for the development of this cluster to include 1 additional city-owned tax lot within the disposition area. Just briefly about the context of the sites, and then I'll hand it over to the team who will describe the details of the project. There are 3 development sites, the first of which is located at 190 Essex Street, which is on the west side of Essex Street between Fulton Street and Folsom Place. Development site 2 is located at 227 Vermont Street on the east side of Vermont between Liberty and Glenmore Avenues. And development site 3 is located at 583 Belmont Avenue on the northeast corner of Schenck and Belmont Avenues.
Thanks. Good morning. So the first development site is on
Could you identify yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Deborah Whitaker, and I'm with M. Lappin and Associates, part of the managing member for the development team. So this is an aerial view of the first site at 190 Essex, at Fulton Street, and we would build 15 units in a 3-story building. The zoning area is just over 13,000 square feet. Hang on, here we go. Sorry. This is a rendering of the building. It would have 15 units, 9 1-bedroom units, and 6 2-bedroom units. And you can see that the front entrance is a little bit set back from the street, and the rest of the facade matches the existing buildings on either side. So this is our site plan, and you'll see that there's a backyard area for residence use and 2 courtyards that will allow for nice plantings, and the backyard is reserved for, or will be reserved for, the residence use. This is our ground floor plan. You'll see that the utility rooms are set toward the front of the building by the street, next to bicycle storage and a laundry room for the residents' use. And there's several residential units also on the ground floor. The next site is at 581 Belmont, at the corner of Schenck. Also a 3-story building, 15 units, and just over 12,000 zoning square feet. Here's our aerial view. We're proposing 8 1-bedroom and 8 2-bedroom units. Here's our rendering. You'll see it's set back a bit from the street with some planting areas and a ramp up to the main entrance, which is on Belmont. The ground floor plan shown here has an L-shaped backyard area, plantings, and it's designed for residence use. The ground floor will have 4 residential units as well as utility rooms, a laundry room for residents' use, a little storage area, and mailboxes. And again, the main entrance you'll see is off Belmont. And then there's access to the backyard through a separate entrance at the north end of the building. The third site is on Vermont Street between Liberty and Glenmore. And this is the area view, 11 units and just over 10,000 square feet of zoning floor area. This is our rendering, 5 one-bedroom units, 6 two-bedroom units, and you'll see that the building is a bit set back from the street, and there'll be some plantings in front of the building to create a bit of a buffer. The site plan is shown here. The main entrance is on the south side of the building through a pathway from the street, and it's on the side of the building. There's also an entrance, in the middle of the building back to the planting, the backyard area for residents' use. There'll be plantings and so forth. Here's the ground floor. You'll see that there are utility rooms, laundry room for residents' use, 3 residential units, and mailboxes. And again, the entry to the back, the front is on the side of the building, and the south side of the building, and then there's an entrance to the rear yard in the back of the building. So our proposed program is 22 one-bedroom units, 19 two-bedroom units, plus a two-bedroom unit reserved for the super. We serve a range of incomes. All of the units will be affordable, and we'll have just over 10% set aside for homeless families, and then the rest of the units will serve families between 30% and 70% of area median, with the vast majority being below 60%. The rents, the incomes range from units affordable to families at $21,000 and change up to almost $75,000 and change, from the one-bedroom unit at the low end of the affordability range up to the two-bedroom unit at the highest range. And the rents start at $481 for a one-bedroom unit at the low end, up to $1,500 and change for the two-bedroom at the high end. And we're hoping for ULURP approval this summer, and assuming that is the case, then we would close on the construction financing this fall and start construction straight away. And we would anticipate that there'd be rent up and completion of construction in about 2 years. So we'd be, with that, our team would be very pleased to take any questions that the commission.
Commissioner Capelli.
Building 2 is where the superintendent's apartment is going to be?
That's right, yes.
And is the superintendent going to service all 3 buildings?
That's right, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rumpershad.
Yes, with regards to 190 Essex, I noticed on the site plan and that north courtyard, I think you had 30 feet, and then on the floor plan you have 32 feet. So did you redistribute the floor area, or?
I'll turn to Ken. Did you hear the question?
On 190 Essex, yeah.
Yes. That's.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Ken Church, the architect. That's probably just a discrepancy between the plans and the site plan that hasn't been updated. There's going to be 32 feet between the windows, so we can use that for light and air.
Okay. And one last question. On Vermont Street, on the rendering, I noticed that there was no stair bulkhead. Is the stair going to go to the roof?
The stair will go to the roof on both sides.
Okay.
Just the rendering just didn't show that.
No problem.
I'm sorry. Vermont Street got redesigned recently. Okay. There is no stair bulkhead. There's just a roof hatch. Okay. Because of the height limitation in that district, we weren't allowed to put a stair, so we just have a hatch from the 3rd floor.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Burney.
Just a couple of questions for the architects. I notice, with the exception of Essex Street, the buildings are set back and they have these 10-foot planting strips in front of the building. And I noticed that these planting strips are never successful. They're not maintained, they die, the grass isn't maintained. And with Essex Street, you've got more of a hard paving solution. I just wonder whether that isn't more advisable in this situation to do it with hard paving rather than trying to maintain grass and planting.
We can integrate some hard paving into the front of those buildings. What happens is typically then people like to walk on that area. And we're trying to buffer between the windows at the street level. But we can put in some hardscape there. It's really not.
I think the problem is not that people walk there, but their dogs poop there, and then you know how it is. And second of all, it's not entirely clear what the facade materials are here, and I would have...
Anything that's colored, in this case, the yellow and the blue are insulated metal panels. It's a rain screen, and it's masonry on the bottom, brick. And most of the buildings are metal panel or brick. Belmont has a wood-looking metal panel and brick, and Essex is also metal panel and brick.
And you favor the metal panel over brick overall because?
It's a little more modern, trying to make a statement in the neighborhood, upgrade all the area, and it's easier to install, and it's a little cheaper than masonry.
It's cheaper than masonry, metal panel now? Wow, okay, that's new.
Right now, it seems to be.
Yeah. Okay, I would just encourage you and HPD really to look at the context perhaps more, and sometimes I think that these, in a particular location like these that are sort of, you know, a colored idiosyncratic metal panel is not the most appropriate if you're trying to build a sort of contextual architecture, but that's just a suggestion for the future.
Commissioner Levin.
I have an architectural question and then a development team question, but as long as Mr. Church is standing here. I'm interested that in a couple of these, in two of the buildings, I think Essex Street and Vermont, if I have them right, you've located electrical rooms and community rooms and gas rooms at the front of the building, which, picking up on Commissioner Burney's comments about the dead space in the front, also lends kind of a dead space to the pedestrian experience. I wonder how you thought about what your thoughts were in designing this way and how these buildings meet the street line, what the experience is going to be as they settle into the neighborhood.
Well, the two buildings we're talking about are contextual districts, so we are trying to line up with the buildings next to us.
But not at the pedestrian level.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't line up.
Yes, they line up with the buildings next to us. You know, they're trying to do
they're
that.
set back also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. On this particular building, the main entrance is on the side of the building. So you go through a trellis into a more private alleyway, and you enter your building there. Most of the reason we put utilities at the front to try and reduce the nuisance of you know, anybody walking up to the building, car noise on the first floor for the tenants.
So the experience.
So we gave them a quieter backyard experience from their windows.
I see. Okay. Are you concerned at all about the safety aspects of having the main entrance on the side of the building?
Not today.
I mean, it's kind of going down a dark alley, and I mean, will it be lit?
Yes, absolutely will be lit. There'll be a gate with an access system. Of course, there's cameras nowadays for everything.
Okay. Okay. And then just a development team question. I'd be interested just in some background on the team, what kind of work you do, other work you've done in the neighborhood. Just introduce the people and the companies involved.
Yeah, I'll answer for two of the members, and then I'll invite Sheila Bennett up, who's our third and very important member. So,
it's just always nice for us to know, informational for us to know who's working in these neighborhoods and what, you know, how the landscape looks.
Absolutely. So the first team member, the Markel Group, is a developer/general contractor. They've been very active in Brooklyn. They've completed 2 affordable projects in Brooklyn, as well as some market rate projects and a bunch of medical space. And they've been active outside of New York City as well. And I'm with M. Lappin and Associates. We're also a managing member, and we're we do some development and some consulting. Prior to M. Lappin and Associates, my partner and I were with the Community Preservation Corp. Mike Lappin was the president of CPC, and I was on the development side of CPC Resources. So, I'll invite Sheila Bennett, who's also, part of the managing member, East Brooklyn Congregations, and you can tell the commission about EBC's fine work.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Bennett. I'm from East Brooklyn Congregation. We have been in that neighborhood of Brooklyn, of North Brooklyn, for approximately 80 years. We have built over 3,500 homes for the Nehemiah Project within the landscape of Brooklyn. We are currently in the process of building about 1,400 units in Spring Creek. We are outreach to a lot of the member institutions. We have a very strong background with the churches, home association, also with schools also in the area. We have known to be very integrated into the Brooklyn community on that side. And we've had a long-standing relationship doing a lot of housing and also doing some other work within the community. That's who we are.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner De La Luz.
I just want to say that I really appreciate the affordability levels that you have. I think, this is a community that, obviously, it'd be great to have even deeper affordability, but I know especially with the scattered site project of this size, that it's challenging. But it's good to see that range.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, then I'll thank the applicant team.
Thank you.
These are the only people who have signed up to speak on this matter, but if anyone else is present and would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Borough of Brooklyn, number 21, Spring Creek Park Edition, CD5, C190291 PCK. Public hearing in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning the Spring Creek Park Edition.
Our first speaker will be Bill Ty, and I will note that Jose Lopez of the Parks Department is available for questions.
Thank you, Chair Largo, and good morning. Good morning, members of the commission. Parks, with our co-applicant DCAS, are proposing to site select and acquire properties located within and adjacent to Spring Creek Park in Brooklyn. Specifically, the properties consist of 4 privately owned lots in Block 4585. They're lots 165, 167, 205, and 225, as well as a portion of the mapped but unbuilt street that runs between those parcels, and that is Drew Street, which is only a built street outside of the park. The requested action would allow Parks to acquire the subject properties to preserve them as open space within Spring Creek Park and to include them in a proposed plan for ecological restoration work. Sorry, I didn't get the order right with these slides today. Spring Creek Park was originally mapped in 1938. And it has expanded with 3 prior editions in 1992, 1994, and 2001. It was originally 46 acres. It's currently almost 105 acres. Acquisition of the privately owned parcels that are the subject of the current land use application will add approximately 0.95 acres to the park. All but one of the properties to be acquired are actually already surrounded on all sides by parkland, and that last lot is surrounded by parkland on 3 sides. In the early 2000s, Parks and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began discussing the potential to restore and improve the ecology at Spring Creek. Historically, it has been negatively impacted, as you can see in some of these photos, by surrounding development, although it's still natural, including the government's own work to dredge the Federal Navigational Channel within nearby Jamaica Bay. The Army Corps carried out their initial ecological assessments at Spring Creek in 2002 and 2003. Work has continued with some stops and starts and led to the Army Corps' release of a final feasibility report last year, recommending a project that will enhance and restore more than 35 acres of wetland and maritime upland in Spring Creek. This project will be a partnership with Parks on behalf of the city with an estimated budget of $22 million. this map will give you an idea of the scale of the project. Most of the slide includes the Spring Creek Ecological Restoration Project, and you can see the privately owned parcels for acquisition up in the upper right-hand corner. So with these public benefits in mind, Parks and DCAS are requesting the City and Planning Commission support for this proposed action, facilitating the acquisition of unimproved, privately owned parcels to be included and preserved as part of Spring Creek Park. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions from the commission? Thank you, Mr. Tai.
Thank you.
And any questions for Mr. Lopez? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, those are the only speakers who have signed up to speak on this item, but if anyone else is present and wants to speak, please come forward. The public hearing is closed.
Borough of Queens, numbers 22 and 23, Kew Gardens Hills rezoning, CD8, number 22, C190299, ZMQ, number 23, N190301, ZRQ, public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning Kew Gardens Hills rezoning.
Our first speaker is Jay Goldstein.
Good morning. My name is Jay Goldstein. I'm here on behalf of Community Board 8, as well as the community at large, which is the subject of this rezoning application. The rezoning before you today encompasses two project areas within the Kew Garden Hills neighborhood of Queens, Project Area A and Project Area B. Project Area A, which is loosely bound by Park Drive East, 72nd Road, 77th Avenue, and 137th Street. Project Area B is loosely bounded by 78th Road, Villi Place, Union Turnpike, and Park Drive East. As you can see, the area is heavily accessible to mass transit. There's express buses along Union Turnpike to the city, the subways to the city, as well as local buses which get you to Jamaica Station and all throughout Queens. The proposal before you would be to take the existing R2 district to R2X. There are 378 lots within this area. When I was brought into the project, I was asked to come up with a way to allow these homes to be enlarged while maintaining a single-family district. They wanted to keep the single-family nature of the area, but allow for a larger footprint of the properties and allow for an increase in floor area. The R2X does just that. The R2X, while maintaining similar front yards and requiring it to be a single-family home, does allow for an enlarged footprint, which with a 20-foot rear yard as opposed to a 30, and allows for a 1.02 FAR with attic allowances. The major difference is the R2X actually requires a lower home, so the homes would have a shorter height than is currently allowed, which is currently you're governed by the sky exposure plane above 25 feet. The R2X would require you to limit the height at 35 feet above, and the front wall would be limited to 21. So we're keeping it as a single family home. We're keeping it as a low, in terms of height, we're keeping the heights to a low level that are more consistent with what's been in the area and what will be in the area. The homes, a lot of them predate zoning. With this rezoning, approximately 98% of the homes in the area would benefit from the project in some way, bringing them into compliance or allowing them to enlarge their homes. Again, this is a project that was spearheaded by the community members and then taken to the community board, and the community board took it upon themselves to present this on behalf of their constituents. Here you have a picture of a pre-zoning house. Here's one of the newer homes that was enlarged under the R2 zoning, another sampling of the home in the area, as well as another sampling of a newly constructed home. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions? Commissioner Levin.
I just have to say it's unusual to see a community board as the applicant particularly on a project like this, and I don't know if you're the right person to ask this question. Interested to know a little bit of the narrative of how this came about and what the process was in beginning to engage all the people you have to engage with to get to this point where everyone says, oh, it's wonderful. Because I know those things don't always come quite so easily.
All right, so I am the person to ask.
Okay.
I grew up in the neighborhood. I'm a Queens resident for my entire life till I got married and moved to Long Island. My brother lives within Project Area A. Most of the people I went to high school with and elementary school with live in these areas. So being one of the few zoning attorneys in the city, they were looking for a way to enlarge their house. I was getting phone calls daily. How do we do this? What do we do? How do I get a bigger home? We put together a number of I wouldn't call them town hall meetings, but before we got to city planning and city planning commission, city council, and the community board, we had meetings in people's homes, just open to the public. Come, let's discuss it. We put together a presentation, we explained the project, and this was funded by the residents of the neighborhood. So it's not that the community board took this and ran with it. The community board did this as a service to their constituents, but the money that went into the environmental and the money that went into my fee, to whatever extent, was a community project. It was taken and spearheaded by them. We had at the community board and at the, a bigger showing of support because, with bodies, because it wasn't 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on a work day. But I understand that a lot of electronic support has come into to city planning. We do actually have a speaker here if the commission wants to hear from her. But that's really how it came about. And then once we had the support of the neighbors, city planning came, did a town hall meeting where they explained the difference between the R2, R2X. At that, which was almost very short notice, we had over 100 people show up to support it and express, city planning was trying to say you can do this similar under an R2, and they really expressed the need of those larger footprints, which is really what's driving this. Mm-hmm. And that's how we got there.
Okay, good. So just for curiosity, how long ago did you begin the discussions with the Department of City Planning?
With city planning or with the community board, or with the community members? No. This started in about 2015. Mm-hmm. It took me about 2 years and change before we actually got it. I think the years are right, but about 2 years till we really got the full momentum that we were looking for. We presented that to the community board and to city planning, and that's when this all spearheaded.
Good. Thank you for that background.
Yep.
And I'll also note that the community board played a helpful role because the fees are waived if the application is from the community board. Aha. Commissioner Edie.
Yeah, thank you. Just curious, you showed a couple of images of homes that have been enlarged. If I understand correctly, those were enlarged under the existing R2 zoning. Correct. Do you have any images of showing what could be developed under the R2X?
So if you look at the top of this photo, it gives a rough massing of what the R2 would look like, R2X would look like, as opposed to the R2. So the R2, you'll notice the significant difference is that the R2X allows you to go 10 feet extra into the rear yard, and that it's a shorter, more of a shorter building than the R2 allows today.
And also, if I understand correctly, it's a narrow, you can do it on a smaller lot.
You can. We don't anticipate that because this project was not spearheaded by developers that want to take, mass tracts of land and subdivide them. These are existing lots that are maybe 40 feet wide, 30 to 40 feet wide. I don't anticipate someone buying up 3 lots, subdividing them into 2 lots, subdividing it into 3 and building new houses. So there's also a benefit of the R2X is you can reduce it from 13 feet side yards to 10. But there's still, you have to maintain 8 feet between the houses. Given those regulations, we don't anticipate really seeing that type of enlargement. The enlargement we anticipate seeing is really into the rear yard.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Levin.
This really doesn't, it's really an aside, but I think we should note that on the front page of today's New York Times is a very detailed story about how many municipalities are now reconsidering single-family home zoning. Not making a pitch for it to happen here, but I think the record should show that we're not unaware of the emerging debate that's going on nationally about the role of single-family housing in the production of affordable housing. Exactly right. Yeah.
It's an absolutely fascinating article, and in particular because it shows major cities throughout the U.S. and what percentage of their land is zoned for single family. And it goes from New York City at 15%, I think, to 70% is the next closest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Aviva Tropper.
Hi, good morning. My name is Aviva Tropper. I'm a resident of Kew Garden Hills, and my husband and I own a home in the rezoning Area B. I'm a third-generation resident in the neighborhood. My grandparents moved into the area in 1962 and 1979, but many other relatives, older relatives, all generations that live there. I attended schools in the area, grew up in the area. My friends live in the area, and we really would like for friends and ourselves to be able to raise our families, continue to raise our families in this area. In order to do so, we really, the way the zoning is now, it's really not productive for us to, we want to be able to enlarge our home and make it more family-friendly with a larger dining room and larger bedrooms and more space for our children. So in order to do so, the community has come together to support this plan, to be able to stay in the neighborhood and keep friends and family close.
Thank you for taking the time to come and testify.
Thank you.
Questions from the commission?
Okay, thank you so much.
These are the only two folks who have signed up to speak, but again, if anyone is present, please feel free to come forward. This public hearing is closed.
Thank you very much.
And Madam Secretary, any other business?
No, Chair Lago.
Okay, so the public meeting is closed. Thank you.
The time is 10:36 a.m.